Where do the first years of your life go? You were there for every second of them, learning to walk, learning to talk, learning to recognize the face of the person who loved you most. Thousands of days, packed with more discovery than you will ever cram into a year again, and you cannot remember a single moment of it. Try it right now. Reach back as far as you can. For almost everyone, the memory wall falls somewhere around age 3, maybe 4. Before that, nothing. Not a blur, not a faded photograph. A blank. An entire human being, awake and learning and feeling, with no record left behind. We have a name for this. It's called infantile amnesia. And for over 100 years, the explanation seemed obvious and a little sad. But brand new research has just turned that explanation upside down. Because the truth might not be that those memories were never made. It might be that they're still in there, and you simply can't reach them. Let's start with the old answer, the one that's been in every textbook for decades. Deep in your brain sits a small, curled structure shaped a little like a seahorse. It's called the hippocampus, and it is the part of you responsible for turning an experience into a lasting memory, for taking a moment and filing it away so you can find it again later. Without it, the present moment simply happens and then vanishes, like writing on water. And here was the problem. When you were a baby, your hippocampus was nowhere near finished. It was still wiring itself together, still growing, still building the machinery it would need. So the thinking went like this. A baby can't store lasting memories because the part of the brain that stores them isn't built yet. The recording equipment wasn't installed. The years were lived, but never captured. Gone the instant they happened. And there's more to it than just the hippocampus. Think about everything you didn't have yet. You had almost no language. And language is how we tag and organize memories. We store our lives into words. Without words, how do you even hold an event in place? You also didn't have a stable sense of self. A memory is something that happened to me, but the me, the you that feels like you, hadn't fully formed yet. There was no main character at the center of the story to remember being there, so for a century, that was the answer. The baby brain was too unfinished to record. The early years weren't forgotten, they were simply never saved. It's a tidy explanation, it makes sense. And in 2025, scientists discovered it might be wrong. A team of researchers at Yale wanted to actually test it. Not guess, test. But there's an obvious problem. How do you ask a baby what it remembers? They can't tell you. So the researchers did something remarkable. Now they put babies, some as young as 1 year old, into a brain scanner, and they watched the hippocampus while it worked. Now getting a 1 year old to lie still inside a giant humming MRI machine is famously close to impossible. But they managed it. They made the babies comfortable enough to lie there and simply look at a screen while underneath, the scanner quietly watched the deepest memory center of their brains in real time. They showed each infant a series of images, a face, an object, a scene. Then later they showed those images again, mixed in with new ones the baby had never seen. And they measured two things: how active the baby's hippocampus was the first time it saw an image, and whether the baby seemed to recognize that image when it came back, by watching how long the baby's eyes lingered on something familiar. The result was stunning. When a baby's hippocampus lit up strongly the first time it saw something, that baby was far more likely to recognize it later, which means the baby's brain wasn't failing to record. It was recording. The hippocampus, the very machine everyone assumed was offline, was encoding memories in a 1 year old, exactly the way it does in you. Sit with that for a second. The recording equipment was never broken. The cameras were rolling the whole time. So if the memories are being made, where do they go? This is where the story stops being a simple tale of a brain that's too young and becomes something stranger. Because the new evidence points to a completely different answer. The problem may not be that you can't store the memories. The problem may be that you can't retrieve them. Think about the difference. One is a camera that was never loaded with film. The other is a vast archive full of footage with no working index, no catalog, no way to search it. The recordings exist. You just have no path back to them. The leading idea is that your infant brain filed those memories using a system your adult brain no longer speaks. You encoded the world before you had language, before you had a fixed sense of self, before your brain was organized the way it is now. So the memories were written in a kind of code that's since been overwritten. The library is full. But the librarian who knew where everything was shelved, that version of you is gone. And the new librarian can't read the old handwriting. Your brain, in other words, didn't delete your childhood. It just kept renovating the building until none of the old maps worked anymore. Every year you grew, the filing system changed. New language, new ways of thinking, a whole new sense of who you were. Each upgrade made the previous one a little harder to read, until the earliest files became a language with no surviving speakers. The information is still on the shelves. There's simply no one left who knows the way in. And the researchers said something genuinely haunting about this. They raised the possibility, carefully, as scientists do, that these earliest memories might endure, that they could still be sitting somewhere in the adult brain, intact but sealed off, inaccessible but not erased, which means the first time you saw snow, the first time you heard your mother's voice and knew it was hers, the first time the world frightened you and someone picked you up and made it safe again. Those moments may not be gone at all. They may still be inside you right now, real, recorded, and just out of reach. A locked room in your own mind that you will spend your whole life standing outside of. It's a strange kind of grief, when you think about it, to have lived the most important years of your development, the years that shaped who you fundamentally are, and to be permanently locked out of the memory of them. But here's the part worth holding on to, the part that turns this from a loss into something almost beautiful. Those years did not disappear just because you can't replay them. You were shaped by every one of them. The security you felt being held became the way you trust people now. The sounds and faces around you became your first language, your sense of home, the bone-deep feeling of what safe is supposed to feel like. You don't remember those moments, but you are walking around as their result. You are the memory. Every early experience that you can't consciously reach is still in there, quietly running underneath everything you do. And there's something else. The reason you have no memories from back then is the same reason those years were so extraordinary. Everything was new, every face, every color, every sound was happening for the very first time, with a freshness and intensity your adult brain will almost never feel again. You weren't recording it because you were too busy living inside it, completely, totally present, in a way we spend the rest of our lives trying to get back to. There's a quiet irony in that. We spend years meditating, traveling, chasing stillness, all to recapture a way of experiencing the world that you had effortlessly every single day before you could even speak. The baby that you can't remember being was, in a sense, more awake than you have ever been since. So no, you can't remember being a baby. None of us can. But it isn't because nothing was there. It's because you were there so fully, so completely, that you became the thing you can't remember. The footage may be locked away forever, but you were the proof that it was filmed. And maybe that's enough. To know that somewhere inside you, the first time you were ever loved is still playing, even if you'll never get to watch it again.